Welcome. Today we're going to do my March recap, and we're going to do like a short list of what's on my TBR, the kind of the most interesting books that I've got coming up. Because I've got 70 books that I haven't read, so just on my shelves. So there's a bigger TBR than that, but this is just the ones that I think are, when I look around at what's close at hand, what's most interesting to me right now. Buckle up. So we're going to start with a few books that I don't actually have on hand anymore because they got returned to the library. Yeah, because they got returned to the library. First up is In the Plex, and this was about Google and kind of the formation of Google, where it started, kind of what happened to it up to a year or two ago. It was okay. It was reporting mostly and kind of dry, so that's it. I actually had his Facebook new book kind of on hold at the library, and I went and returned In the Plex, and I was like, no. Not up for another story like that. Not nearly as good as what Walter Isaacson does with his biographies. This was, or even in Innovators, which I read a couple months back. It was just kind of boring reporting. So that's what In the Plex was. Next up was Why I Read. I didn't even finish it. I got 2 chapters in and said, this book also boring. It had a lot of literary references that I had never read, so I didn't even get, right? And it was like, such and such an idea, kind of like these 5 other books. I'm like, I've never read none of these books. And I did this like over and over, and I even skipped ahead and like, we'll just try a different chapter. We'll just try a different chapter. We'll just jump in somewhere else. I was like, no, none of it was, nothing. So skip that book too. I was like, this is not going to do it for me. So I didn't do it. Another one from the library that I got, we'll see here. Oh, actually, we'll start Apartment. So I got Apartment from by Teddy Wayne, and this is adult fiction. It is about 2 writers, one who's kind of not hard luck, like he just had a tougher life, and then one whose dad is paying for the writing program that he's in, and so he says, hey, I got this apartment, and I'm staying at my aunt's place, and it's kind of rent controlled, so we get to stay there, so it's fine, but you can join me, and they have some disagreements. There's, they're both, they bring 2 girls to the room at one point, and then what it really seems like is the one character touches the other character, like, both girls are kissing him, and then the other guy goes in and says, kiss me too, and so he kind of joins, and he puts his hand out to touch some skin and touches the other guy, and after that, it's really awkward. And then the main guy who offers the apartment makes some bad decisions, and that's, it kind of ends. There's an ending, like they just go off to do their own thing, like I don't know, it's one guy becomes an editor, one guy becomes a good author, like meh, and has like kids, and the other guy's kind of on his own still, like it's like that's an ending because it's over, but meh, otherwise it was fine. I only picked this up because I saw Steve Donahue smiling with it in a picture, a thumbnail, so I picked it up. That's the only reason. It's okay, that's it. I'm going to keep it till whenever the library is open around here again now. Another one that I read that's back to the library already is the Tao of Bill Murray. I saw this when I was back in Kelowna a couple months ago, and then I said, hey, the library has it, so I grabbed it. And it was good. So kind of the beginning is, he says these 10 principles. Oh, there's a kid. Don't come in here. No. You don't have any clothes on. Go. You can't come in the video. Anyway, Tao of Bill Murray. So the first is the beginning is 10 principles of Bill Murray. 10 principles, I don't know. It's sure 10 principles. I stopped a few times how is this story of Bill Murray doing something, instituting the principle? No idea. And then it's a filmography in the last bit. So I don't know about the 10 principles of Bill Murray, but if you want to read funny Bill Murray stories, good book. I enjoyed it. I'm going to put it on my list to get a copy of it myself just because the Bill Murray stories are good, and it's just, I want to have a little bit more Bill Murray in my life, a little bit more, not that I can just go and be spontaneous, help people or do crazy things anymore, because we're still stuck at home, but still, it's a good book. I enjoyed it. All right, now we're transitioning to the books that I have on hand that are mine. Oh, I don't have the slipcover for this. Let me grab that. Where'd it go? So, Shorter by Alex Sujung Kim Pang. I was going to say, Zhang Il or something like that. I don't know why. So this is a book about working shorter work weeks. That's about it. It's a follow-up to Rest. I read that a couple years ago. Then Rest, he talks about taking more rest in your day, taking a lot of breaks. And Shorter talks about, was to answer the questions of people who said, but I don't own my company. How do I do this? How do I, influence. I don't have control over my schedule. So what do I do? So this one tries to answer. I'm about, I don't know, you can see my bookmark here. I'm like 60% of the way through. Chapter 5 out of like 7 chapters, maybe. It takes it in design thinking methodology. So it's frame, inspire, ideate, prototype, test, share. So I'm at ideate? No, I'm prototype. I'm at prototype, I think. Test. So I'm at test. I'm at 5. So yeah, 167. It finishes at 263. So I read 2 chapters this morning. I expect that I will finish this probably tomorrow, or definitely before Wednesday, which is the end of the week. Oh, she's coming in because she's got pajamas on now.
Hi.
Do you want to go show off a book that you looked at recently? Oh. Go grab a book. Your sisters did it earlier, okay? Next up, I read the Screwtape Letters. Actually, you know what? The God Delusion. Oh, here's the other one. Who are you like today? Who's your hair?
Emerson McHale.
Yeah, but what's your hair like?
Elsa.
Elsa, yeah. Elsa. She's got a braid. It comes, wraps around. So are you going to sit here quietly? Okay. So I read The God Delusion at a recommendation from Adam at The Bookman. And I go to church, and I think that if you're going to be afraid to read a book like this, then you probably don't know as much about your beliefs as you think. So I read that. There's some things I think about. They'll be doing a full review of this coming up. But right now, this is what I've got. Oh, okay. Make room for your sister. She's got some books to show. You're going to try and sit here? Okay. What books are you showing? Lorelai, talk about your books. What are you going to show off? Oh, I like this one. What's this one here?
Promise don't eat bananas. And you want to see the pages?
Yeah, I can show them the pages. You tell me what the book's about.
The book's about a piranha that eats fruit.
And he tries to convince his friends, right? See, look, there's the fruit.
And then they try it, and they say it's good, but they say they still prefer bums.
They still prefer bums. It's very nice, Brian, but we still prefer bum. Right? What's next?
I've read this recently.
Oh, what's this one?
Matthew.
This is Caillou and the Big Bully, or Caillou Encounters a Bully. Cool.
And it has a Matthew in it.
It has someone named Matthew in it? Cool.
Do they want to look at the pages?
Oh, I'll show them the pages, sure. Here you go.
Matthew.
And then what else? What do you got for me? Oh.
3 Rainbow Fairies.
Yes, we took 9 Rainbow Fairy books out last time we were at the library. So this is Rainbow Magic Superstar Fairies. Have you read this one? Yeah?
Yes, looked at it.
Oh, she looked at it. Okay.
Look at the pages.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's some pretty pictures in there. This is a shorter one. And what's this next one here? This is Sugar Spice Fairies, Cocoa Cupcake Fairy.
So the
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a drawing of the 2 girls that all turn into fairies and help out the fairies.
I have that in my book.
You do. And what's this one? Oh, Rainbow Magic Fairies. This is Miley the Stylist Fairies. Stylist Fairy. Cool.
I will get some other Rainbow Fairies.
Oh, I think we're all done for now. I got to do mine, okay? Why don't you girls go upstairs? Okay? Can you? Yes. You got food on your face. You want to go what? No, we're not on the treadmill right now. I'm trying to do this. I can't even help you at the moment, okay?
Mommy didn't read.
Well, you go talk to Mommy about that. Go. I'm going to keep talking, okay? Screwtape Letters was the next one. So after Adam recommended The God Delusion to me, he also said, hey, Screwtape Letters is a good one. And then Mere Christianity, which is back there on my shelf as well. So I read this. This book, it's been a while since I've read this. I don't even know when the last time I read this was. Probably been 10 years. So in this one, there's a lot of good little points that I think are just good takeaways to read, just to think about in life. Like it's a good life advice book, right? So here's one really good one. This is page 26. In civilized life domestic hatred usually expresses itself by saying things which would appear quite harmless on paper. The words are not offensive, but in such a voice or at such a moment that they are not far from a short sort of blow in the face, hit in the face. That's a good one just to remember in your marriage. Like, yeah, it's easy to say something like, oh, well, the words weren't mean and you totally meant it mean. And yeah, and that's not a good thing for your marriage. There's lots of little things in here like this. I think that if you're going to read this book, regardless of your faith persuasion, that it's a good one to read. And when you get to something like that, just sit back and like, well, okay, what does that mean? How can I make a change in my life, my marriage, whatever, to counteract that thing? Much as I said with Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday, which I read last year sometime. Again, a good book to like read through, and like when there's something to think about, stop and think, not just to read straight through. So I got to figure out how to do that because I got at least these 2 books that are more like that, where I just want to sit and think with them. They're short chapters, and you can like, oh, there's one thing to pull out, or read 2 chapters and pull out one thing and think on that. So I don't know how I'm gonna put that on my reading life, but that's just something I kind of keep thinking about for my reading life. Next up, BiblioTECH. There's a full review of this coming up. It's already scheduled for, I don't know, 2 weeks from now, something like that. This was about libraries and the difficulties that they have, and then how they're going to navigate technology, specifically technology, because stuff like BitRot's a thing where you're like, you have CDs, I have CDs on a shelf and some of them are just going to be dead, or like file formats. Hey, we have all these old books on zip disk. Well, do you even know what zip disk is? Unless you're a nerd, you probably don't. And then how do the libraries handle moving that forward? It doesn't talk so much about the social working aspect of libraries now, where it's one of the only places that homeless can go. They talk about that in the library book a lot more. But it talks about that a little bit. It deals more with like the technology side of it, and then licensing issues from publishers, stuff like that, which have gotten worse recently. And then actually, a lot of publishers kind of opened everything up again because of the COVID-19 stuff. So BiblioTECH. The last one we're going to talk about as ones that I've read is Boys and Sex by Peggy Orenstein. There will be a review coming of this up. I'm going to record it after. I got 2 more book reviews to record, actually. But God Delusion and this is going to be recorded after this video later today. It was a tough book. It was a tough book, but it's specifically chapter 2 talking about pornography and what pornography shows, how it affects your brain, and the women in pornography. Like what they have to deal with, even in quote unquote good pornography that's not abusive. So I think that if you're a dude, you should read this book. It's a tough book, but it talks a lot about like how men are socialized to think of sex, and sex is not, especially bragging locker room talk, sex is not about the sex. It's about showing that I control the woman through whatever woman's body, and so that makes me more masculine. That's what it's about. And it talks about all the ways that men are socialized to view sex and how they're supposed to talk about sex and hookup culture, and do guys really want it, and even how like a guy, especially at the hands of a lady, like consent still happens, right? Whereas your friends are like, oh, you got sex, man, like why are you complaining? And the truth is that you still didn't give consent to it. So there's a good story in that, talking about the ways that men force sex on women, and that women are often taught, almost always taught, that a man's needs are more important than her own. So while she may say no, the guy asks enough and then they give in, and they don't want to. They're not interested really, but that's what happens. Tough book. Good book. I'm going to actually send this off to the bookman as like a, hey, get me this book because I want it. And she has one, Girls and Sex, as well, which I'd like to read. I have 3 girls, so that would be good. Yeah. Now we're going to move into like kind of the most interesting books in my TBR pile, because I got 12 books over on my shelf, but these are the ones that as I look around, as I was like, I got to record this, and what am I going to do? Here's the ones that are interesting to me, most interesting to me in the next bit. The first one is An Inconvenient Indian, a curious account of Native people in North America. So I've read, what did I read recently? Words Have a Past, I read earlier this year about Indigenous issues, specifically with how newspapers talked about language. When I read that, I had my friend Christine Scott say, hey, you should read this other one here. And so she lent this to me. This is her book. She lent it to me before, we had all this COVID stuff, and now she's not my daughter's librarian because there's not anything happening. I don't actually know what it's about overall, besides a curious account of Native people in North America. It's by Thomas King. It's got a blurb on the back by Richard Wagamisi, who I've definitely heard of his name. I don't know much. So yeah, that's an interesting one to expand my what I know about Indigenous issues in Canada, because I'm a white dude. I don't know a lot about it. I need to be better about that and understand what's going on so that I can make more informed decisions. Something that our Stolen Nation around here is doing is they're actually, I watched a video on this, so this is like super not my thing. But they are talking about coming out of the Indian Act in Canada. I think that's what it's called, the Indigenous Peoples Act, whatever it is. And having their own agreement with the government, having their own governance. So like stuff like this will give me a more informed as I see the other issues coming up and them talking about it, or the Indigenous people locally talking about it. Many of whom are my friends. I actually used to rent from the Stolen Nation in my office for a number of years. Just understanding where they're coming from and what they had to do, what the stupid white people did to them, which was pretty horrible and words have a past. So that's one of them. That's up most next on my list. Next up, no particular. Quest in Paradise by David Attenborough. This copy is from 1960. I don't know if you can kind of tell, like it's pretty beat up. Just got this in from England, actually. So this is, you ever heard the word like, they cargo culted this? This is literally the story of why that came about, because the Indigenous people on the front worshipped cargo, the ships, like the cargo coming in. And so it'll be interesting. I just got it a couple days ago from England. Garbage. Recycle that in a second. It's in reasonably good shape, and I'm mostly just excited to read about the cargo culting and the. I actually talk about the birds, the people of paradise. I assume is where it talks mostly about the cargo culting. Yeah. And then there's a list of illustrations, the color plates, monochrome plates. I guess that would be like the drawings. So this copy is from 1960, right? So you have stuff like, I think that's like the bungee jumping, basically, where they bungee jump off towers. So that will be interesting. That's even chapter 12, cargo cult. I didn't even mean to do that, but there you go. It's another one that's most interesting. It smells like a really old book. I like that. So that'll be one that's more soon up on my list of books to read. Another good one. I don't know if this is good. I was literally just walking through the book, man. I saw this. This is The Hidden Girls of Kabul. Right? Yeah, it's The Underground Girls of Kabul. This is about women in families where they want a boy, and the girls that are born are treated like boys and told they're boys until they're old enough to understand what's up, and then they're told to be girls, and some of them don't even they don't want to make the transition. So I know in the blurb it said, hey, there's a doctor in here who's like in her 40s, and she's like, no, and she knows of another another person that she works with who's like, no, I'm a girl, but I'm pretending to be a boy. So that'll be interesting culturally to look at. Literally, I walked by and saw the cover and was like, oh, that looks cool. So I don't know past that much about it. Which is why I read, because I don't know about these things. So I want to learn these things. Also why I read heavily nonfiction, because I want to learn these things. And then, my last one that I want to talk about is So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport. Why Skills Trump Passion in the Quest for Work You Love. I actually read this before. I have a Kindle copy of it, and I just wanted a physical copy of it. So I saw it on sale for $10, I think. I think it was $10. Along with his other one, Digital Minimalism. Not Digital Minimalism, that's over there. Deep Work, which is the first one I read from Cal Newport that I really loved. It's the first one I read from him, so I loved that one. This one, So Good They Can't Ignore You, is about exactly what the title says, becoming so good they can't ignore you. And it talks less about hey, you got to have a passion and just pursue your passion, and more about your passion comes because you have some mastery in something, you become good at it. And how do you get to that point? I think that's even a pertinent book with everything that's going on right now. My work is fairly secure at this point, right? I was just looking through the task list. I've got another month of work at least, and a month of good solid work for me usually results in 3-4 months of pay, so that's fine. And I do some videos. I can make some money off the videos. I make some money off some other places too. So I should be fine through September, October. And yet that still means I still have to think farther ahead than that. And how do I keep running my own business? What do I do? How do I become so good at whatever field that I can't be ignored? And maybe that's in book reviews, on, stuff like that. Maybe it's other places, but how do I become so good I can't be ignored is an important question. I think it's an important question for other people. So I want to read this again. I won't look back at my notes. I'll read it. I'll take my own notes in it again, and then I will go back and probably write a second review of it. I'll probably write my review, and then I'll go back and look what I wrote in the first and maybe modify or change some things in it. So that's it for my recap in March. I forget how many, 9, 10 books I've read in March. 19 books ahead of schedule, although I put 40 books in Goodreads this year for no reason, really. I just did. And yeah, I just thought I heard someone knock on the door and the kids. So that's where we're at. If you liked the video, you can give me a thumbs up. If you loved it, why don't you subscribe? And don't hit the bell, though, because you got better things to do. Like, I don't know, hang out with your kids. Maybe they can come join your videos, too, because mine are joining my videos lots right now. And if you liked our book recommendation from Lorelei today, we had book recommendations coming up from Eden and Arwen that comes up in a little bit. And I think we'll probably do, since they're home, we'll get some more videos from them coming on my channel and like hanging out with them. So yeah, that's it. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your reading.